What is good? Knicks Film School. What's the deal, y'all? I am Jeff Johnson. That is Kris Pursiainen, the multi-syllabic man with the surname, the sources savant. You know he's in the building, and you are in the building for the season premiere of Casual Fridays Live, coming to you every Friday, noon Eastern, on KFS YouTube. We are excited. I can speak for myself, Kris. I know you are too, but I am excited to join this journey with the KFS community as being a member and also a client and also now part of the faculty, giving you something cool to look forward to every Friday. You're going to see your favorites from KFS on this. As always, switched up the format a little bit, going to be more interactive, a little more conversational, a lot more conversational. I guess it's what you expect from Casual Friday with a twist. This is like alternate reality Casual Fridays, which is your reality right now. Kris, talk to me. How you feeling, man?
What's up, Jeff? Thank you for allowing me to be part of your intro to the KFS community. Obviously, they know who you are, but now they know you're one of them, and that is extra special. You saw my tweet, and then the Knicks traded Dante like days later. But, a couple of weeks back after draft class, I was talking with GMAC, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if you know this, but we got Jeff, and that's going to be a thing. And I was like, we did what? We got who? We got what? So I'm so happy you're here, man. Listen, you are a foundational part of one of probably the best birthday I've had in my life. When I turned 21, I was beat reporting Knicks Heat Game 2 at the Garden. We were there with Sean. We were there with Nick and Nader. We were in the building, man. So you've been there for some pretty important Knick moments of mine. And Knick fans, the Knick family should know you from MSG. So it's just so awesome that you're here on KFS. And again, I'm so excited and happy to be part of your intro to the KFS community because you fit, man. This is it. This is the passion, it's the intonation with the fan base that I think is what draws people to you when you talk Knicks with Sean or whoever. And I'm just really happy you're here with us now because we got a squad now. I sound like Braun after that trade deadline. I promise you're not Iman Shumpert. We got a squad though.
Yo, you know when Kris is using the SAT words that he really feels it and he really means it. So I appreciate you, dog. I really appreciate you. And let me not be presumptuous. For those who don't know me, hosted a betting show on MSG over the last couple of years. Still MSG alum, MSG fan, doing stuff from time to time. Also, you can find me on TNT Sports, Bleacher Report, On the Line, betting 6:30s, Monday through Friday or whenever baseball is kicking us out. We're going to be there all season. I also do highlights on NBA.com and WNBA.com. So I've been around. I've been a part of the community for a while. You've probably seen me also on Knicks Fan TV. Shout out to my guys, CP, Alex, JD, CK, all my guys over there doing post games, tapping in, calling in. So I am as much a fan as I am a media professional. And that's the one thing, Kris, that I feel like people need to be more real about is that they do have allegiances. They do have preferences. They root for teams. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in this because you don't come into this for money first. It's not like doctor, lawyer, where they tell you this is a place where you can more than likely make a certain amount of money. You got to have this has to be at least 50-50 passion to how would I say it? It has to be passion versus technical career job, right? So
opportunity. No one's out here moving like Rob Lowe in the NFL baseball hat. Right.
Exactly.
I love Adam Silver. Oh my God.
Exactly. So I'm a big Knicks fan, been a Knicks fan my entire life pretty much. And I'm ready to share this Casual Friday vibe with y'all, man. So let's go into it and keep it classic with Casual Friday. We're getting into the vibe check. And yeah, we're in training camp right now. Knicks are in training camp. And I don't know if y'all heard, but there's been a little bit of news going on so far. But overall, I want to know, Kris, what is your vibes? What are the vibes like with you right now?
Oh, I would say the vibes in terms of the New York Knicks are this is a good question because it's genuinely hard for me to put one word on it. It's like a mix of anxiety and hope. I think Knicks fans are very happy to finally have the problems that they've made fun of other fan bases for years for having. Like, Celtics fans will be like, oh, being a Celtics fan is so hard. Being a Celtics fan is torture. And Knicks fans will be like, bro, you guys have it so good. We'd love to be in your city. Like, when you have expectations, you're not surprising anyone when you're good. Right? Like, think about the We Here season. Okay. The Knicks came into the year with one of the lowest, win numbers in the Eastern Conference. They were projected to finish like 8th or 9th or 10th, or maybe even lower than that. Right. And so every time they won a big game, it wasn't just, oh, the Knicks won a big game. Wow. The Knicks pulled this game out. They're this against the spread. They're the underdog of the year. They're whatever. There was a ceiling to be reached when you hit a big milestone or win. And when you lost, it was, oh, well, the Knicks stink. Who expected anything from this team? Now it's you win. Okay, you did your job. You lose. Wow, you suck. You were supposed to win. This is awesome. This is awesome. This is the world you want to be in. You want to be one of these teams. And the Knicks are it. Like, organizationally, you can tell they're all in. You can tell that this is a team they think can go all the way. The fans should feel the same way. So the vibes are high right now. The vibes are really good right now. And I think part of that is because, and maybe this is off topic a little, but like when you hear Cat talk, I watched the whole Club Shay Shay interview. You can just, maybe it's a little like parasocial, but you get this feeling that he's going to fit right in with JB and Hart and McHale. Like, you get this feeling that just because he went to a different blue blood basketball school, it doesn't mean anything. Like, he's going to fit right in with them. They're very similar. Brunson and Towns are both very driven, both very down to earth, both had, like professional player fathers. It's just I think it's going to work synergy wise. And that is on track for a season where the Knicks don't have regrets. That's really all you can hope for, right? If you remember after Game 7 against the Pacers, Tom Thibodeau said something to the reporters after the game, and standing there hearing him say that, it was the first time I had ever heard anyone put it that way, which is almost silly because it was so simple. But what he said was, there are going to be 29 unhappy teams every year. Obviously, he didn't factor in that some teams are happy to be losing on given years, tank it, whatever.
Right.
We'll ignore that. There's 29 unhappy teams every year that don't win the championship, that are unhappy with what they were able to accomplish. It's not about being happy. It's about not having regrets. You just have to make sure you attack the season in a way where you're giving your best effort. You don't have regrets. You know that you gave your all. And this is a Knicks team built to do that on a nightly basis. That, to me, is going to get the Knicks back to the Knicks basketball identity. The Knicks basketball used to have a connotation of, you're going to come to Madison Square Garden and we're going to beat you to the ground and win by 87 to 77. The 2013 Knicks, the one really good Knicks team of my childhood, didn't have that vibe. They were just a good team in a desert of awful basketball. They were the one palm tree that was well hydrated, and everyone was like, well, this is amazing. This Knicks team feels like the 90s team, feels like the 70s team. Not that I was there for either, but it feels like them in the sense where hard work, effort, blue collar, New York, all these attributes that people so heavily associate with the Knicks brand of basketball actually, once again, are in line with how the team plays, which is, that viral tweet. Teams in the NBA today are scoring 150 points a game. You go to Madison Square Garden, they beat you with metal bats for 2 hours.
Right.
Like, that's this team, even with someone like Cat, who, like, I know Steph Bondy recently had a really nice appearance with Dexter Henry talking about the soft label on Cat. And he's like, I think it all comes from the Jimmy Butler thing. And honestly, like, how sick is Jimmy Butler for beating up on his teammates with a bunch of bench players? That's proof of more than Cat being different. Soft.
Different type of sicko.
That doesn't make Cat soft that Jimmy's that level, whatever. So I thought that was really interesting. My point is, and I know that was long-winded, my bad, but the vibes are high. And I think the vibes are so high because this Knicks team seems to be tapping into that stream of effort, sweat, right? Like Emmanuel quickly posting his gray t-shirts that became a different color because they were 100% sweat. That felt like Knicks basketball. even you want to talk about like when Randall was doing those off-season workouts with the chains where he's like pulling trucks. You're like, I'll run through a brick wall with this guy. Like, that's Knicks basketball. This team has that identity, and I love that for the Knicks fan base because it represents them.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. To me, right now, with me, the vibes are exceptional because I feel like this can be that unique, singular season for the Knicks. You can tell that they have a different type of sense of urgency. I would even say even it's exceptional, but it's also urgent because they have a sense of urgency. They didn't want to rest on their laurels. They struck while the iron was hot. Like the iron was on fire and they continued to strike, right? And they made these trades and they're going in and they set their core for the next 4 years. So they've given themselves an official window and they're not resting on their laurels. And I think they believe that they can do it. And they're putting their money where their mouth is right now with the moves that they're making, with the players that they're bringing back. And you can tell everyone is on the same page, ready to rock. They know how far they could have went if injuries and whatnot didn't pile up, if things literally broke a different way. They know where it would have went.
Didn't break.
Now and now they're building upon that. So I think it's urgent because based on everything that I saw, this looks like a team that did not want to play in what ifs. They want to play in what nows. And what now is they have an opportunity across multi-years to win the title in an NBA that has the most parity that I've ever seen as a fan. Like legit parity. We'd have to go back maybe 20, 30 years to establish any type of perceived parity that there may have been. But now, you know, as an NBA team, you have more of an odds, just like how they extended the odds of the draft and the ping pong balls, how they flattened that. You kind of see that with the parity that we have in the league right now. The CBA, all of that has made it so that you can't stack a team for a certain amount before you got to make a literal business decision. So I think the Knicks have seen this. They've enacted their long-term plan, and now you're seeing it come to fruition, and you can feel it. You can feel it through the fan base. You can feel it through the organization. It's time.
I feel like a lot of people have the Celtics coming out of the East. A lot of people have the Thunder coming out of the West. I don't think anyone, and including Celtics fans and Thunder fans that are smart basketball analysts that think that they'll make it out of their conference, will tell you that it's a lock, right? I think you're spot on about the parity. I think league-wide, people are probably a little even like too low on the Celtics, and we saw the Nuggets starting five grow that synergy over the years. Like, y'all think they're going to get worse at playing together after winning a championship, right? Like, no, they're going to know exactly when D White likes to cut. They're going to know exactly where to pass to Kristaps at the top of the key, whatever. My point is, even the favorites, the presumptive favorites are not locks, right? We haven't seen Caruso or Hartenstein play a second in, I would say, in orange and blue, but you know, maybe too soon. Maybe too soon.
Cerulean blue and
blue and orange. We haven't seen Cat play a second for the Knicks. We have not seen Paul George play a second for the Sixers. Out west, KCP's gone. How big of an impact will that have? Blah blah blah. Right? When you look at the landscape, every team has, whether it's big or small, there's a question mark. There's no Cavs Warriors. There's no Kansas City Chiefs where you're like, yeah, it'd be crazy if they won a third time in a row, but like, who else am I going to pick? You know, like we're in a great spot and the Knicks are going for it. And they did it in a way where it's kind of poetic how they've been setting up for years, building slow, like a small market team organically from within. And everyone's been like, oh, you got to go for it. You got to push. They've got no chutzpah and whatever. Leon isn't telling his plan to the fans in bullet points and on 5x7 note cards, every player he's going to target. So he doesn't have a plan. And now you have teams like Minnesota trading guys like Karl Towns for packages they hope will return the kind of value that they got out of the player just because they need to circumvent that apron before it hits them like a truck. And the Knicks, they're given $1 extra on contracts so that they're technically not minimums. They're signing Brunson to Tom Brady pay cuts. They built this all. and Hart extended, Brunson extended, Towns signed, Bridges, the one question mark that will more than likely extend, Anunoby extended, and we know that because he got they backed up the Brinks trucks, right? So this core is locked in, and Deuce is locked in too at that salary.
Yeah.
Whether they deal him at any point or not, they have 6 guys that are locked in for years besides Mikal, who's technically locked in. And they're ready to go. You said it right at the top of the episode, Jeff. You said they're ready to go for it. They are. They're going. They think they can do it. They're going for it. This is
exactly.
They don't have to tell us. We can see it. We get the paper, right? They're going for it.
Yeah. And shout out to Dirty Dancer in the chat who said the vibes at LFGM. +1. +1. The Q Borough is in the NLDS, and don't y'all forget it. Real quick, I tweeted out the Mets have one more OMG in them. I thought I pushed it to the knife. They pushed me all the way to the knife to figure out what the OMG was. I didn't know P. Alonso had one more OMG in him. So shout out to them. Shout out to I love the vibes, and I also love New York taking on Philadelphia in another playoff series. The Mets have the chance to do the funniest thing ever. And if you want to see a city crash out over their sports teams, I cannot wait. I love people from Philadelphia. I love the city of Philadelphia. I love seeing y'all suffer. I
was going to say, but.
Oh, yeah. There's a big but.
And,
right.
And one sentence before you pivot. Shout out GMAC and Mets Therapy, who at this point in the year has become a staple of mine. Funnily enough, on TikTok. AC's TikToks are where I consume the most Mets Therapy, like the short form videos he does. I love the game recaps, especially if I missed a game. So shout out to AC, man, holding it down.
Yeah, man, for sure. All right, let's get into the weekly recap, and I wonder what we could talk about. Right, like it's a pretty light week.
TJ Warren,
That's
TJ Warren, big signing.
Two bubble, two Jordan. 2 Bubble 2 Jordan. We running it back. The second season of Bubble Jordan coming to New York City. Listen, man, you want to talk about low risk, high reward. He shows any flashes, and that's just another weapon that they could have just in the tuck, just in case. Hopefully, they do not have to use them, because then that means
don't let me derail you with TJ Warren.
No, you're good. You're good.
Joking. Get on to it.
No, you're all good. You're all good, because we started touching on it earlier with the whole cat trade and all that. And we're definitely going to get to that. But just some news that just broke a little while ago. Patrick Ewing is officially back in the Knicks organization. He's been hired as a basketball ambassador, assisting in both basketball and business operation. He's going to be involved with players, coaches, executives. Statement from Pat. He said, as I said the day my number 33 jersey lifted into the rafters at MSG, I'll always be a Knick and I'll always be a New Yorker. I can't wait to get started in this new position and to officially be back with the organization that I love so much. The Garden has always been my home. Looking forward to working with Leon Rose, Coach Thibodeau, the team, and everyone else that makes this place so special. And Kris, I don't know how you feel, but I think it's really dope that Pat Ewing finally is back home and back in the Knicks organization. It's something that people have been saying for decades, really, that he should be coaching with the team. He should be involved somehow, because it only feels right. And I think with what we've seen, the way that the Knicks have embraced their alumni over the past few seasons, especially last season, this just feels right. And I'm glad that Pat Ewing, he's also involved with USA Basketball too, so that's dope. I love it. I love it for the fan base, and I'm glad that we're going to get to see him more around MSG.
I'm not going to pretend like I was alive during Pat Ewing's best years with the Knicks.
Right.
But what I can offer you all is a different perspective on this situation that you don't have, because you watched him play basketball on TV with your eyeballs and not on YouTube, on NBA classics. I've COVID, man. During lockdown, I caught up on the Hornets playoff series. I was watching morning go at it with like I was in the weeds, man. That's you listen, you give a 18-year-old high school senior YouTube and 3 months of free time.
Clear out.
Some nerd shit's gonna go down. But basically, like, as someone who never watched him play, but obviously understands the significance, I think it's important to remember, right? Like, what was one of my first introductions as a Knicks fan to the Knicks and their connection to their history? It was the smooth voice of Clyde Frazier. And so I was raised understanding that great historical franchises keep their legends in the building and they keep them in the loop. And when you look at Alumni Row, as it became known as, this is like AAU parents to the max. This is like John Starks screaming at Quick, like, yeah, good stop, kid. Box out. You hear them like losing their voices, like they're playing again. Like this is an emotional, tangible energy force. This is the ghost of Knicksmas past giving advice to the ghost of Knicksmas present and future. Like, it's a beautiful thing to have these guys screaming on the sideline, telling our players what they can do better, just coaching them up, making them feel supported. For Ewing to have an official role, I mean, he joins Houston and others in that regard. You know, Othello Harrington, the big man coach, like, no matter who you are, you can have a role. I think it's great. And the fact that they're saying he'll help on the business and basketball side, to me, it felt a little bit like we need to call him something, but we just want him in the building. And a little bit like, if there's a guy who can translate, right? Like, think about it. Brunson was the perfect leader for a Thibodeau team because he grew up with Rick Brunson doing all the same stuff. Like, Brunson can translate. That was one of the first things that was really talked about by guys like Steve Popper when Brunson got signed, was he can translate the Tibbsies. He can translate to the team. I think Ewing is going to play a similar role in regards to translating sentiments, messages from ownership to coaching, from whatever. Like, I don't know if I think this is original reporting. I don't know that many people talk about this loudly, but like, Dolan and Tibbs will meet after games sometimes. Like, sometimes Tibbs is late to post-game media because he has a meeting with Mr. Dolan. And like, the most infamous one of those meetings was after the 44-14 third quarter against the Mavericks, with the Cam Reddish crossover slip on the court, like that, just nightmare game at home. So these meetings happen, right? Like, I assume if they continue to happen, Ewing might be there post game in those meetings, just to mediate, to understand that everyone just wants the Knicks to be good. Here's how we can all work together. Amazing. I got nothing else to say. Right. Great hire.
No. I think it's going to be really dope. It's good to see Pat back. Welcome officially into the Knicks brass and organization. I think he's going to be an excellent fit, and it's good for the fans too. We talked about the vibes earlier. The vibes have just been elevated to a whole other level, bringing Pat Ewing back into the fold. All right, Kris, let's get into this. Let's get into this cat trade, and we put out the Casual Friday question of the week. We put out our poll. We testing the temperature with the KFS audience, and we wanted to know. I had the question. It was on our Twitter poll. Finish this sentence: after the cat trade, the Knicks blank. Right? Is either got better, got worse, or stay the same. Right now, there's 32 minutes left in the poll, but we're clearly going now. So I've seen enough. Count. The polls are closed.
Stop the count.
Kris, we're going to breaking news. We have breaking news on polls and whatnot. I wish I had the sound effect. I'm gonna get the sound effect for y'all next week, but I can now report that got better will be the winner of the poll with over 82%.
We're calling
of the votes. We can call it. We can now call it. I've seen enough. Got better was 82%. Got worse was 4%. And 13% stayed the same. Thank you to all 500 plus that voted. Definitely check KFS Twitter every week. We're going to have a question for y'all to answer, and we're going to incorporate it into Casual Fridays to keep the conversation going. So we're now official, Kris, with this trade. Knicks get Karl-Anthony Towns. They also get, from the 2023 draft, I believe, what is my man's name? James Najee.
James Najee,
right? And then the Wolves get Randall DiVincenzo, Detroit first round pick. And then the Hornets, they get the bargain. They get the bargain bag of all the minimum plus one, literally minimum plus one contracts. The Quad Jeffries, Dwayne Washington Jr. Oh, the Wolves also got KBD, right? Bates Diop. Yeah. So Jeffries, Brown, Dwayne Washington Jr. go to Charlotte along with some cash considerations and all of that. Now the trade is official. How do you feel about the trade? Let's go right to the poll, and I want to get your perspective on it, Kris. You think they got better? You think they got worse? Or you think they stayed the same?
I think the Knicks, I want to say the same thing I did with the OG Anunoby trade, which is because the Knicks gave up 2 players for 1, pretty much, they inherently got worse slightly as a team today. Mm-hmm. But what the move does is it sets them up to be much better soon, because all they need to do is find one player to fill one of those 2 spots, and all of a sudden, like, Precious was that guy. Precious came in, filled the role that they needed him to fill with Robinson hurt, and all of a sudden the Knicks were way better right away because mostly of Anunoby's fit in the offense. I think it'll be the same with Cat. So even though my brain wants to, play it smart and okay, they got slightly, I'm going to say they got better. I'm going to say I agree with the majority here. I'm not fading the public. I'm riding with them. The Knicks got better. And the reason they got better is because of the fit on the offensive end of the floor. I said this in a video I made on Twitter. I'm not sure that Mikal or Cat, I know Jalen and Josh are thinking about this. I think Mikal and Cat have no idea what is coming. They have no idea how good of an offensive environment they are about to play in. Mikal is coming from facing double teams. Looking in the left corner, it's Dennis Smith Jr. Looking in the right corner is Cam Johnson with the other 2 defenders on him. And he's like, you're going to get this leaning elbow, hezzy pull-up midi, and you're going to like it, Brooklyn. Like, this is what I got for y'all. Now, think of just like, let this situation play out in your head. Jalen has the ball, top of the key. Mm-hmm. Cat comes out from the paint into the left corner. Josh sets a down screen. Cat comes up to the top next to JB, sets a screen for him himself. 2 screens, one off the ball, one on the ball. Either Mikal or OG is getting an open corner 3 out of this action. Are there 2 guys that are better at corner 3s in the NBA that are starting level defense? Like, and then if say it's OG screening or something, Cat is shooting. What the hell? Like, it's right. It's going. There's not someone on the Knicks where it's like, oh, we'll double Brunson and let the rest of them beat us. Like, no, they'll beat you. They'll do it. You're going to have to guard everyone. The only non-shooter is technically Josh Hart, but the 5 is maybe the best shooter out of everyone. So it balances out. Cat's not a great rim protector. There's OG. OG is not an amazing creator. There's Mikal. Jalen's not a great point of attack defender. He's a bulldog. He'll hold up, but he's not elite. You know who is? Mikal. He'll fill in. Everyone has good and bad to them in basketball. The thing about this Knicks team, especially the starting 5, assuming it's Hart and not McBride, everyone's biggest weakness is covered by someone else. Brunson's biggest weakness is covered by Bridges. Bridges' biggest weakness, I would say, is not being a number 1 offensive option. That's okay.
Right.
He's the number 3 at best. God bless. Hart's biggest weakness, probably volume shooting. That's okay. The 5 can shoot. OG's biggest weakness on the court, obviously, because I'd say health is his biggest weakness. Well, if health is the problem, Mikal exists, right?
Right.
To fill in, you can have Deuce do Mikal's job defensively and guard the point of attack. Mikal can fill in for OG. Everyone's weakness has a cover up, and everyone's everyone's strengths lifts up each other's strengths. It's a very synergetic, very symbiotic relationship between these starters that if these are the starters that I think the Knicks will have. And then as of right now, Mitchell Robinson's on the roster. If you need to go big, you can go Towns, Mitch at the front court. But I don't, as I reported last week, the Knicks are continuing to look into trades. They are continuing to see what's out there. I wouldn't say they're calling up every GM being like, hey, we got this athletic center, please take him. No, it's far from that. But they are looking into moving him, right? Because they're at a point as a franchise where they're all in. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right now, Mitch is on the team. So you could say too that they can go big, they can go small. The Knicks got better. There's my answer.
Yeah. When I first heard the trade, it took me a while to process because first off, shout out to whoever the agent of chaos was that said, let's drop this trade Friday night at like 10 Eastern when everybody's either getting ready to go out or winding down for the night. And it just felt like the vibes were so cool. It was one of those almost too quiet type situations. So shout out to whoever thought, let's just Friday news dump at the latest possible moment to set the NBA world on fire and just walk away from the blaze and check the aftermath in the morning, right? I do think that they got better. And I think for a lot of the reasons that you said, and overall, they are a team of five, even whether you put McBride or Josh Hart in the starting lineup, I think they are complementary pieces. I think the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, and the sum of the parts are pretty dope too. And just like you said, they can complement each other in different ways, and they can supplement each other in different ways as well. Someone like Cat, who's already used to playing that second option role, now comes here where that is required of you and for you to be your best self and playing off Jalen Brunson. So he's had to do that with Ant-Man in Minnesota. He'll be able to do that now with JB. And my biggest concern was Dante coming off the bench, because I think if you kept Dante and somehow still traded Julius and for Cat, and you figure out whatever else was, if you didn't lose any of the core you had now, let's say it was Julius and Mitch for Cat, I think a lot of the Knicks fans would be putting the champagne on ice. 100% be putting the champagne on ice right now. So you got to ask yourself, where is that production going to come from, especially when it was going to come off the bench, right? Now, that can be McBride. McBride can take that leap. I don't know if it's fair to expect him to shoot in the same way Dante did, but he was producing well. Like, he can make a jump where it's comparable enough. Like, if he hits his open shots, if he shoots 40% off open shots, which is he's going to get abundantly, then we're cooking here. So you're asking for Miles McBride to take a leap. You're asking for Campaign to be as serviceable, quite frankly, as he was when the Knicks faced the Sixers in the playoffs. I hated seeing Campaign coming through. I hated seeing Campaign coming through because I'm like, yo, get out of here, Campaign. But he was annoying in the best way for the Sixers and in the worst way for Knicks, right? Like him, you're asking for Precious to expand upon his season before and be a plus, especially on the offensive end. Like he raises his game there, that automatically raises the floor and the ceiling for the Knicks. You may be looking at someone like Tyler Kolek. Does he force his way into the rotation kind of like a Quickly did when he was on the bench? Who knows? But I do think if it's one thing about this front office, they always have another move cooking. We don't know what the move is. We're not going to see it until it happens. But if they need to add one more piece to the bench, they'll do it. So we're going off of a lot of givens, right? Given that Cat will produce the way that he did, given that Deuce McBride will continue to be a positive and take a leap, given that they'll be able to stabilize their bench rotation, and everybody operates in the at least to the 90th percentile of the expectations that people have. I'd even say like 80%, and we're cooking. I think we're cooking 100%. So I do think that they got better. I understand why folks would say they think they stayed the same. Maybe you think because of the 2-for-1 and you just got Cat back and James Najee, who's not going to play this year in the NBA, that maybe that they fell off. But I'd argue that Cat is almost like the fusion dance of Julius and Dante. He shoots like Dante. He can post up like Julius. He's taller than Julius, and he's gonna force those bigs to get away from the basket. I saw a shout out to Sean with a W. He shared a graphic. We were talking about it in the chat, and he shared a graphic. Yeah, Huh?
The spacing
Yeah, the
graphic?
spacing graphic where the Knicks had the most cramped space of any team, like 7.8 feet. I think they went away from the basket, as opposed to the Celtics, who were all the way on the other end of the spectrum because you had to guard them on the perimeter. That's the type of yes, there you go. shout out to Kris with the visual aids on.
If you're
there.
watching.
You can see, if you're watching, Boston is all the way at the top and the Knicks are at the bottom, with a group of other teams in the middle, right? So he's going to help with that too. Now, one thing I definitely wanted to talk to you about, Kris, was how perception distorts our reality. Perception and narratives, right? So I was stunned when I heard about the Cat trade, even though he's been rumored for years. I didn't think they were going to happen. I understand where fans may have an aversion to the trade because, one, wanted to see the Nova Knicks cook. Two, we wanted to see if the January Knicks theory was actually a fact. Could this team produce that same win clip over the course of an entire season with majority of the team healthy and with a training camp under their belt? Could that happen? So I understand why I was there too. I wanted to see that happen. Shout out to Julius Randle. I think for all of his faults that he may have had, I still think he was overhated and underappreciated. I think he's one of the most disrespected All-NBA players that we currently have in the league. The fact that people need to try to find excuses why he makes All-Star teams and why he made All-NBA teams was just pretty nasty. And Dante had one of the most transformative one-season tenures that I've seen from an NBA player, and it shows that people didn't want to let him go. So definitely shout out to them. But when I thought about Cat coming to the Knicks, I was trying to think to myself, okay, what is it about Cat that I don't like as a player? See what I said at the end? As a player on the court, what about his game do I think would be a negative? Why don't I think he would be additive to the team? And I realized, and I put it into theory because I talked to a lot of fans, varying age, all of that, Knicks fans. And I would ask, why don't you like Cat? And Kris, the first through fifth things to come out of everybody's mouth had nothing to do with basketball. It had everything to do with personality. Oh, he's soft. Oh, he's a sucker. He got 15 different voices like Nicki Minaj. I don't know who he is. He's fraudulent. He's all of this. But we aren't talking about the basketball. Like, what about his game? Because soft can be super qualitative in the sense that you just want him to be a tough guy, but he can still be effective and not be a quote unquote tough guy. Because here's the thing. I've seen him get into scraps. I've seen him bark at people. That doesn't seem like soft to me. When I think about soft, I think about somebody who can be overpowered, who could be suckered, who could be put in a disadvantageous position due to being intimidated. Like somebody can strike fear into them, and that's what soft is. Or when it's time to bang, you wilt. I never really heard it. I never really heard that about Cat before. You know, people talk about his defense and the offensive foul, but I never really heard that. So I had to really interrogate my own perception of this man, and I realized he has a lot in common with the New York Knicks in that narratives supplant the actual reality on the court. We lived in an era where everyone from media, all platforms, used to get off their 5-minute Knicks stand-up routine. We know what Knicks for clicks are. The fan base knows what that is. And yes, some of it was brought upon by themselves, but a lot of it got ridiculous. We had a half of a season conversation about whether Jalen Brunson was a superstar because he doesn't wear lifts in his shoes. And then when he did not get the starter position in the All-Star team, they try to gaslight the Knicks fans and tell them that they didn't vote him in, when we know a lot of these votes are casual votes. And what do casual people watch? They watch the national media. And if they hear you constantly shit on a player throughout the course of a season, yeah, they're going to think, oh, I'd rather see Dame pull up from 40 all game than see Jalen Brunson because he's not really that good, right? And then I thought about what I would hear about Cat. And anytime I watch Cat and he was dropping 50 points and doing all this stuff, I'd be shocked. Because I'd say, oh, wow, he dropping 50. Oh, he can hit the 3-point. Oh, he aggressive tip back dunks. What? He was able to lock up Jokic a little bit? Like, who is this dude that I'm watching right now? Because he don't sound like the dude that people talk about. And I realized that is the one major parallel that they have between the Knicks franchise and Cat is that despite what may happen on the court, and yes, I've heard Wolves fans talk to me about the stuff that's going to make you go crazy about him. I think every player to an extent has that. But when I thought about the narratives versus the actual reality, I realized people just didn't want to root for him because he wasn't their type of guy. Like if he came in here with Ant's temperament, people would be calling this a home run. There would be no equivocation. There would be no debate. If he had that swag, everybody would say that the Knicks won this trade. Like by far won this trade, right? So
now Julius
Randle, right?
Randle magically became the belle of the ball after being this player that every other fan base, including Knicks fans, were like, well, he's not that good. Oh, he's 2-time All-NBA. Yeah, but we all know he's not actually an All-NBA player. Like, oh, he's an all-star. Yeah, but we know he's not actually an all-star. Like, it was always a coincidence. Like, Embiid didn't play enough games. Well, that's part of the... Anyway, we knew that was going to happen. We knew Randall was going to suddenly become this undervalued, underpaid stud, hidden in the rough.
Oh, the narratives next season are going to be so funny. Like, I'm waiting for them to be like, oh, damn, Julius Randle could play. Why did the Knicks get rid of him? What have y'all been saying the whole last couple of years? Y'all were the same people. And I hated when people did it. It was just like, and I will fight this. I will keep fighting this. Kris, you started your media career around 2018. Was you like starting it when the KD Kyrie free agency happened? I will put this. I'm not the sources man, but I hear a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff. I know enough. I'll say that. I know enough. If KD don't pop his Achilles, we're in a different timeline.
Uh-huh.
We're in a totally different timeline where them two come to the Knicks. And every single piece of reporting had what I just said as a fact, as it was all but said and done that they were going to go to the Knicks. And then when it didn't happen, I heard that Knicks fans got too hyped. And this is what New York always does. And how would y'all think that KD and Kyrie would want to come to New York? I don't know. Maybe because every national news outlet predicted it and said that that's what they heard. But yet now it's on Knicks fans because y'all are saying, because we listen to y'all. We listened to y'all. We were encouraged by it. And now that it didn't happen, now it's on us. We're the ones that were wilding. Like that, it doesn't work like that, bro. It doesn't work like that. And we gotta, and I said it last year, the LOL Knicks era is over. Put the tombstone up, write the epitaph, write on it, like put the years, the before, the sunrise and sunset years. It is a wrap. So now you're going to get a fan base who can actually push back for the first time in a long time with facts and results. Facts and results, right? So I interrogating those thoughts about Karl-Anthony Towns, it made me really appreciate him a little bit more, even though I did want to see this team. I was more invested in the Julius Randle redemption tour than I was about an upgrade. And that's the fan in me. But being objective, I see why this move was made. I see it was for all those specific reasons. And then on top of that, I was listening to Dane Moore, his spot with Macri. Right. I was listening to his interview with Macri on the pod, and he made a great point about the whole Cat personality thing, where he said Cat is a really good dude, and he feels like he made a couple of good points that I'm gonna bring up. The second one I definitely want you to comment on. I want you to comment on everything, Kris. Like, but I'm definitely emphasis on that one. The one thing that he said is that Cat is a good dude, and all the reporting and all the stuff that we've heard, even Brother from the Atlantic. He went to the soccer game.
John K.
Yeah. You know, I got Chris's last name right. If I can't remember my man's name off the top of the head, I ain't gonna butcher your last name. He's a good dude. He's an impressionable dude, and he likes to be liked. He wants to be liked. So a lot of what we may see, and I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, whatever, but a lot of what we may see, his supposition was that it's based off of a desire to be liked. So yeah, he's gonna say the cool things and try to have the sound bites and do all the histrionics with the crowd to try to pull them in because he's good and he wants to be liked. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I do think as people, you gotta come to a point where you know people are just not gonna like you, even if you have no reason for being disliked. People will find a reason to dislike you. So at some point, he's gonna have to come to that realization if that is the case.
Bro,
and
you
just
know,
keep
you know
cooking.
how many of my friends will be like, man, way too much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander love right now. This guy needs a hater. You know what? Screw it. I have no reason behind this. I hope he fails. He's a fraud. Fraud watch. He's on fraud watch. It's like, how
Welcome
did you
to
just start
NBA
hating
Twitter.
someone? I was bored, bro. I had to hate someone. I was like, I'll go with Shai. What?
Yeah, exactly.
People are
So
funny, man.
I realize that, and I do think as humans, there's no human on the face of the earth that was walking that says that they've never been influenced by somebody. So yeah, I understand when Ant came there. Ant has that magnetic personality that rubs off on you. You're gonna feel more confident. He's gonna bring out more of your personality just because that's who Ant is, right? So yeah, if it rubbed off on him, I think that was pretty good for him because then rolling with someone like Ant, you're not gonna give a whatever. I still GMAC ain't here, so I don't know how much I can get off with the cursing too much. So I'm gonna hold on before I get the boot. But he didn't care what people say, right? He didn't care what people say. I think, and I've said this, and I'm gonna reiterate this. A couple of things for you, Kris. I feel like Cat's personality is more complimentary to this current Knicks team than Randall's was. And I actually think his personality is a positive for this team because we got a team full of goofballs. We got a team full of jokesters. We got a team full of affable personalities who also can lock in when it's time. And I think that one thing, that one quality of being yourself and thriving is what's going to unlock Cat this season. I think it's clear. I think even when you seen the opening, you watched his opening statements with the Knicks media where he said he introduced himself to Jalen after Jalen was like, "Who's Carl?" He's like, "Yes, hi, my name is Carl. I heard that you didn't know who I was."
Bro, they're corny.
XYZ.
We can say it. They're corny. They're millennials with corny senses of humor who are just good regular guys who love, playing basketball with their friends, who want to compete. But I'll start with this just really quickly.
Sir.
Back to what you said at first.
Cook. Go ahead.
The roster, to me, it all comes down to Brunson, right? Brunson was a big ad for this front office. When they added Brunson, what else? What did they almost do? They also almost added Spida, right? So you can tell this is where we're at. The front office loves Jalen Brunson, first player to never make an all-star game in his career and get a $100 million+ deal. Everyone and their mother's college roommate's dog walker was laughing at the Knicks for that contract.
Overpaid.
He's small. You paid it, whatever, right? I was loud about not wanting Brunson on the Knicks because I really liked what the Knicks had in quickly, and I thought Brunson wasn't ever going to hit a level of stardom that made it worth speeding up the timeline. I was wrong. I was really wrong. I thought Brunson would peak as like a top 30, top 20 guy in the NBA in his career. I was like, that's a great player, but what if we built slow, organic? Brunson's way better than I thought he'd ever be already, and he's young. So I'm an idiot for that, and I was totally wrong. But when they signed him, I said, this deal is not bad. This is not bad value. Hawks fans, fans of every team were coming at and saying, "Oh, you're a fan of a team that just paid a point guard that's not a top 10 point guard." I was like, he's getting paid the 14th most of a point guard. If he's the 15th best point guard, that's a fine deal. He's probably the second best point guard, if not first, in the NBA. So there's that. I would still say second. I'll defer to Steph. But that's where the Knicks were at on him. We got JB. We love JB. We'll give JB $100 million. We also need someone like Spida. We'll get them when the price is right. The season went on. For the second year straight, Jalen Brunson sent Donovan Mitchell home in the first round of the NBA playoffs. 2 years in a row, 2 different franchises each time. Jazz, Mavericks, Knicks, Cavs. After the second time, you know what people said? Well, the Knicks are great, but we know Donovan's still better than Brunson. At basketball, right? So the Knicks are like, no, we don't think so. We'll rock with our guy. We don't need Spida. I can tell you that next offseason, the next season after they didn't trade for him, Donovan and Leon's relationship wasn't what it always was, because I think Donovan was a little bit like, yo, I'm your guy and you let me go to Cleveland. And Leon now can be like, yeah, I did, because we were good, right? Then it got to a point with the Knicks where it's like, okay, the Knicks don't need Spida. They can wait for Booker or Giannis. Those were the 2 guys that I always said the franchise has had their eye on for 4 or 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But the Knicks looked internally and they said, that would be amazing, but we don't need to do all that if we just go get the best 3-and-D wing in the NBA. And they go get OG Anunoby to play that third fiddle role behind Brunson and Randall. And even after the OG trade, everyone is like, okay, they're going to go get one more star, and that's going to be it. He'll be the number 1 option. JB will be the best number 2 in the league. We're all good. And then the Knicks watch Brunson set playoff records and set the record for most points in a game in the playoffs by a Knick, and have the most 40-point games consecutively since Michael, Jeffrey, Jordan. And they're like, you know what? We might be good. Let's go get McHale. We're going to give up the picks for McHale. The Nets don't want to trade him anywhere. Memphis has offered them 4 firsts. They didn't take it. Houston has offered them all their Harden firsts back. They didn't take it. People have offered huge deals for McHale. No one wants it. Brooklyn doesn't want it. What if we offered 5 firsts in salary and a swap? And Brooklyn was like, no. So the Knicks said, okay, we're going to go do something else. I can tell you, they had another move lined up. Because they thought McHale was not going to happen. I think part of the reason for the other move was to get what happened to happen, which is Sean Marks found out about the other move, said, hold on, I'm going to get these picks, damn it. And then did the hard thing and traded McHale across town. Then Jeremy Cohen and I, we're sitting, and the best Knicks reporters out there, the best national reporters out there, the best content creators out there, everyone is unanimous in saying that was their final move. Mikal Bridges, the final Infinity Stone. This is the team. This is crazy. Maybe years down the line, they'll move Randall or something. And Jeremy and I were like, they're going to take Randall, Mitch, and Deuce and trade those 3 with whatever picks they have left for Booker or Giannis. That's the last move. But the Knicks, again, said they looked internally. What they have is better than what people think. They're closer than people think. And they just did what they had to do to get Cat. And then 3 stud acquisitions later, in 8 months, they were done. So, yeah, I think it all comes back to Brunson. As Brunson kept proving that he was a higher caliber of player, they kept tweaking their plan to make it all work. Cat's getting paid a lot when his deal starts. OG's getting paid a lot now. But Brunson took the pay cut. So it all balances out. I'm sure McHale will shave a little off the top to make it all fit, and they're all good, right? Now, to go to Cat's personality, I think Jalen, bro, have you seen Jalen on the goddamn Roommates show? I could say this today because I'll show you my shirt after I say this. He's got toy lightsabers. He's a nerd. Now, as I'm wearing a 25 years of the Phantom Menace t-shirt, I'm not saying that being a Star Wars nerd is a bad thing. Because look at me.
I ain't know where to talk. You know what I'm saying?
That said,
look, I know what I
hey now,
talk, all right?
Hey now, that's dope. That's tough. That is sick. So yeah, so like they're nerdy, they're funny, nerdy guys. Like Quickly fit right in because Quickly was the kind of guy who, while everyone's out partying at Kentucky, he's doing 9 to 11 Bible reading, 11 to 12 call with his aunt and mom back home, 12 to 4 a.m. gym workout until the coaches come and kick him out. So like Dirty Dancer, I was born the same month that Attack of the Clones came out. There's your old moment for today.
Wow.
Basically May 2002, baby. So yeah, I think Cat's personality is a perfect fit. I think he fits great. I think Cat can be Cat with the Knicks. Like you said, everyone can just be themselves. Josh was streaming Fortnite over COVID.
I remember.
Like, he and Kat are going to get along just great. Jalen and Kat, and in their heart, no matter how badly Jalen wants to claim Chicago this and Philadelphia that and whatever, they're both Jersey kids. They're both Jersey Hoopers. They talk the same. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I was for sure. You know how Kaz always said, yeah, for sure. Like Brunson and him talk very similarly. They're both Jersey bros, like Jersey hoop bros. That's at their hearts, that's who they are. And so yeah, with all that said, Kat is going to fit in just great. And the reason why is the switch, the proverbial switch. Josh Hart will tweet, I'm not playing the goddamn 5. Get out of my face with that. You're not coming to me telling me I'm playing the 4, I'm playing the 5. Media day. Josh, you don't have to play the 5 anymore. He says, thank God, to the reporters. But it's almost like this Tibbs chip inside him went off. And he was like, yeah, but coach knows, everyone knows, I'll do what the team asks. Tibbs wants me to do something. They know how to have fun with it, but they can flip the switch. And what Kat showed me in the playoffs against the Nuggets was that Jokic-esque quality of, you are not a center that I am going to say is a top 10 defender at your position in the NBA. Maybe in your conference. Maybe you're not one of the top 10 defensive centers in your conference. But if I need one stop, if I need 2 stops at the end of a game, I think Yo can do it. I think Kat can help. They've shown that they can do that. So when the Knicks are playing a death lineup or whatever, like, they'll flip that switch. Brunson, bro, like, he's a dog. He's a competitor. Josh is a competitor. Dante was a competitor. Like, these guys are all competitors. Ultimately, they can all kind of get together behind, we all have something to prove. Kat has to prove he's not soft. Kat is going to show that he and Thibodeau can work together, because if Kat and Thibodeau doesn't work this time, Kat will really get spun as soft, because everything was going great for Tibbs with the Knicks before. Kat doesn't have the things aren't working here to fall back on. Things were working. Now it's up to you to help keep them work. So there's no power struggle, right? It's just like, I'm a star player. You're the star coach. You got an extension. Like, if we want to both keep this job, we got to work together. Everyone's going to flip that switch, man. And Tom Thibodeau is one of the best in the league at uniting players behind a common goal. If you look back to the Chicago Bulls, if you look to the 2021 We Hear Knicks, what he's able to teach players is, if you play well, you get paid. If we play well, we get paid. And look, he got them to buy in. Alec Burks, 330. Nerlens Noel, 330, right? Fournier, like, these guys got paid because he had them. Derrick Rose got extended 330. Like, he got everyone paid. That's the Tibbs motto. Tibbs, when he found out Luol Deng wasn't going to get the type of contract, you heard the story? When Tibbs found out Luol Deng wasn't going to get the type of contract that he and Luol thought he deserved, he started running the offense through Luol to inflate his stats so that the front office would extend him to a deal that they thought he was worthy of. Now, Tibbs would never do that to Leon. Tibbs is like, Boone, like, he's getting the lineup card and he's playing it, right? But the thing is, that's the thing. That is the thing, is that the collaboration between the coach, the front office, the stars, everyone's on the same page. Adding Pat Ewing to the mix only exponentially emphasizes the synergy with which all the moving parts of this team, they're all on the same side. And it all comes back to Brunson. It all comes back to, it was James Edwards in his I think it was his debut piece for The Athletic on the Knicks.
Yep. Shout out to James Edwards.
It was fire. He's like, Brunson, this is Brunson's world. We're just living in it. Brunson ascended to the point where they said, you've got a number 2 option in Randall. You really need a 3-and-D wing. We'll get you the best one. That 3-and-D wing can guard bigs. What about one that can help Jalen at the point of attack? We'll go get him the best one. All right. Jalen Brunson's played with really bad spacing. This guy's it. He's our everything. How can we best optimize his life on a possession-to-possession basis? What if we unclog the paint? What stretch bigs are out there? Let's go get the best one. So, like, they got the best 3-and-D wing that can switch on to bigs. They got the best 3-and-D wing that can switch down to guards. They got the best stretch 5, the best shooting big in the league. this offensive environment, and this comes back to what we were saying earlier, Jeff, this offensive environment, I don't think these new acquisitions understand yet.
Right.
How beneficial this environment is going to be. The Knicks are, I think, the team with the best chance this season. And I'd say the Celtics are there too, but the Knicks and the Celtics are the two teams with the best chance to be that like Spurs beautiful game type offense where, yes, it's heliocentric. Brunson's the number one, but Mikhail's getting touches. OG's taking pull-ups. Cat's obviously doing a lot of scoring. Like, this is going to be one of those teams where it doesn't matter who has the big night. And that is awesome. Like, it could be someone, it could be no one. You could have 4 guys score 25. You could have 1 score 60 and 3 score 14. Doesn't matter. You just want to win. And that's what it comes down to. Jalen just here's what it is, and then I'm done. They all have individually something they want to prove, and they all also, I think, really understand that the only way it's going to happen is if they work as a team. They know what to say to the media because it's their right mentality. They're not like sitting up there just doing lip service. Like, they really believe this stuff, and I think there's something to Jay Wright, to Kenny Payne, to Coach Cal, like getting guys that played for these historic college coaches. Like, there's something there in terms of how they can connect with each other. And I think the personalities are a really great fit. I'm not into Zodiac anything, but that guy, like the Zodiac GM, you know that account? All the Knicks starters are the same color, which is always like he says is really good.
Yeah, it's like synergistic. It's like complementary Zodiac. Like, I think a bunch of them are Virgos.
Exactly.
And Cat is a Scorpio.
It's all
and
blue.
Like,
and he's like,
I think
Cat
OG
and
Josh Hart are Pisces or something like that, which is Pisces and Scorpio are like the most compatible, which goes back. If you are an astrology believer, the vibes, you have no reason to doubt the vibes. Put it to you like that. You have little reason to doubt the vibes. The stars in the sky are saying it. The stars on land are saying it, right? The stars in the garden and the stars in the sky are both saying that this should work. Real quick before we get out of here, Cat, 23-11, 3 points, career true shooting percentage over 62%. He's one of 5 players to average 23 points and over 58% effective field goal percentage, along with Steph, Giannis, KD, and Jokic. You look at some of like his he's the only stats.
Yeah,
and it's like, who? Him? Cat? Like, really? And it's because
he doesn't believe it. Did you see Shannon? Shannon was like, you've got a 60-point game, 2 50-point games, 7 40-point games, and 130-point games. And Cat, he did the Kevin Hart. He's like, I did that? Shannon's like, yeah. He's like, damn.
I believe it, man. I know they be remembering some of their games. You can't remember all of that, but when it's quantified in front of your face, that's when you have to take a step back and be like, yeah, I am really that nice. But that just goes to show he's done so much. And yes, I think another thing is he had the burden of being the number 1 overall pick. So when you're the number 1 overall pick, and Macri is speaking about this earlier, where you're either going to be a superstar, you're going to be a bust, or you're going to be somewhere in the middle. And he might be in that middle piece to where Dane Moore was saying Cat should aim for AD's trajectory of being somebody who's regarded as one of the best in the game and gets to a point where you can be a secondary piece and win a title and you get your respect. Like, for all this talk about personality, KD has to be the most online NBA player ever. People have been
Josh Hart's coming for that.
Right. People have been crapping on his personality, the burner phones, all that stuff for years. And he got 2 titles and he's certified. So y'all gonna say whatever y'all want about Cat. At this point, it's about the chip. So if he's gonna bring his whole self and contribute to a championship, I don't care how much modulation is in his voice. I don't care if he's soprano or alto or whatever in the middle, bro. Like, you can be whatever you want to be as long as you bring us the chip. Let me get to Super Chat. Mensa, thank you so much for the hospitality and the generosity. Hell yeah, baby. So excited to see Jeff on the Casual Crew, and shout out to my guy Kris for filling in today. The vibes are immaculate. Love that, bro. Thank you for shouting out. Hopefully to get you on soon. I know Mensa's a busy man. You know, when the wealth is wealth, and you can only extend yourself so much. So hopefully I'll be able to
He'll
get
be
him
on
to
here,
to
man.
do
We
that,
know
right?
that.
All
He's a
right, let me get
staple.
to some questions, some quick questions before we get out of here. Let's see. Cosmo Payne, do you think this coaching staff will be able to help Cat avoid getting into foul trouble? Chris, run that.
I would say for sure they got Bryant now, Mark Bryant, right? And then they still have Othello Harrington. So they got two big man whisperers, two big man coaches. You know, for me, a lot of times, you know, maybe Cat has been taught ways to stay out of foul trouble, but he's only had so many. No, but he's only had so many coaches, right? Like sometimes it takes hearing the same thing from different perspectives or hearing something new to really like solidify and teach a player how to go about something. Mitchell Robinson, it took until his third or fourth NBA season. It was his first year with Tibbs. The first time I saw Mitch seal off the paint with his feet and butt and back. He had never done it once, to the point where I think legitimately no one taught him how to seal the paint off. Like they were like, oh, every big knows how to do that. He's just, sometimes it just takes a fresh voice or a fresh face, a fresh set of eyes. You know, you go crazy looking for your keys for half an hour. Someone walks in, they're like, you looking for these? Like they're right here. Sometimes it's just about a fresh set of eyes, man. So I'd say this coaching staff will be able to help Cat, not just because they're good in a vacuum, but because it's a fresh set of voices for him. Yeah. Go to Glenn's next, if you don't mind. The one.
No,
that
I got I definitely got you on that. I would also say I echo everything Chris says, and I do think having the variety of coaches that they have, from Dice to Mo Cheeks to Othello, and even full circle having Pat Ewing back in the building, I think there's going to be a lot of sage advice that Cat can pull from. And he's even said he's older, he's more mature, he's more receptive to what Tom Thibodeau has been saying and what he's preaching. And I think they've both evolved and they're in a better place now. They've both grown. They've both learned their lessons, because you only catch a L when you don't learn from it. That's when it's really a failure, is when you don't learn the lesson from losing and or from any type of setback or obstacle that you face in your life, right? And I think we've seen evidence that Tibbs has grown as a coach. And he's evolved in his philosophy. Cat, this is something that he's going to have to prove. I said this was a revenge tour year for Julius. This might be a revenge tour year for Cat too. He doesn't have to do too much. He just got to do what he was doing in New York, to be completely honest. Because I read some of those stats and people would say, I'm probably making them up. You probably punched that into a TI-83 and came up with it, and you just said, who's that stat, right? It's like we're playing who he played for with all NBA level stats. But if there's any place on this planet where you can get the respect you deserve and with interest, it's in Madison Square Garden when you perform. So I think it's a great move. Let's tap in with Glenn. This was by request from Kris Pursiainen.
I think
let me read it off. Let me read it off real quick. DDV always had Brunson's back when teams got chippy with him. Sexton, Philly, Indy. Who will step up into that agitator / enforcer role this year? Chris, rock out.
I think it's going to be Hart and Towns. I think you'll see Cat try and earn the Garden crowd over by not letting people mess with JB. And I also think JB is the kind of leader where, like, when Ant came in, Ant was like, this is my show now, and I got y'all. We're going to do this, which sometimes it's nice to have someone do that, right? But Brunson is very much more the type of leader that I think would resonate more with Towns, which is like, nah, like, sure, you can call me whatever, but we're just all in this together. But then if you mess up, he's going to be on you. Like he'll help correct you. I think Cat is going to take a big liking to Brunson, and I think he's going to take it personally when someone comes at Brunson. I also think Hart is like, Josh doesn't want to get thrown out of games. Like he knows he knows when he's testing it. He's talked about that on the pod before, but I can't say, like, you know, Josh is also someone who, like, him and Jalen are friends in the way where, like, yeah, like they'll make fun of each other after the game, but on the court, Josh will step in and you know, be protective of Brunson, be the watchdog, even if after he's like, yo, he was about to beat your ass. Like, they'll make fun of each other after, but that's part of being brothers. So yeah, 100%. I would say Cat will try to win the crowd over a little, and Hart will naturally slide into that. What do you think?
Yeah, I could see that. That's the thing. They can be as goofy and affable and joking as they want to, but nobody's a punk. Nobody's a punk. Nobody's gonna get punked. Like you see when Embiid was starting to get active and Devo was in his face. OG was right there next to him, like, yo, what's going on? Like, you don't have to be demonstrative to command respect. That's the thing that I think a lot of sports fans get twisted. Usually it's the people that's doing all the rah-rah stuff that can't fight and ain't really trying to fight. And I've seen enough fake fights in the NBA to call out the difference. Right?
NBA is the king of that.
Right. Because you can't fight like that no more.
Even
for the people who wasn't trying to fight, you can't fight because you throw one punch and that's 10 games.
It's the literal same thing as like my 14-pound dog on a leash talking cash shit to the husky across the street because my dog knows that the husky's also on a leash and he can't do anything about it. The owner's gonna hold him back, so my dog's getting his game off. He's like, "Hey, listen, I'll take you down. You know I take you down. I'm a tenth of your size. You wouldn't know. I'll take you down." Right. Meanwhile, he's never gonna back that up. He knows he can't back that up.
Exactly. And also when you have a team, you can raise up as a team. You can raise up as a team and you don't have to appoint somebody as an enforcer. I mean, low-key, I wish Mook was still on the squad because that would have been my default answer. Like, if anything, he's definitely going to press a few folks. But once again, you got to give to get.
Bench, though.
Right. I mean, intimidation works at multiple ways. Maybe he can't do it from the bench, but, timeouts, walking around like, yo.
Pacers got ways. James Johnson.
Right. That's what I'm saying. James Johnson looms.
Just to know
he doesn't
MMA.
Sit on the bench. He looms. If there was a looming MMA fighter on your bench, I'm acting a little bit different because now I got to check my blind side. Even though I know he ain't trying to knock nobody out for real like that. Even like what was my man that was doing the boxing? David. He played in New Orleans. He played in the Hornets. He was with Chris Paul a lot.
West.
Yes. Thank you. You would be great at charades and taboo. I'm gonna remember that, Chris. I'm gonna remember that definitely. Yeah, but David West, he knew how to box. Jaylen Brown, he partakes in the pugilistic activities, but they're not trying to fight for real. And then on top of that, you fight some end of the rotation dude. You break your hand, now you out for 6 weeks for what? For hey, what? Man. So
it could be a fire extinguisher.
Exactly. All right, let's see what else we got. This one should be quick. Benfica Mad, how many minutes Shamet getting in the rotation?
That's a tough one, man. I would say if they're, with the way things stand rotationally, if Mitch isn't back and they don't make a move for someone that can play, Shamet might start out playing like 12, 13 minutes a game. I know he's been in New York City all summer. He's been spotted walking his dog and taking part in runs at gyms and different things. Like Shamet was around all summer. I think the Knicks may have told him like early in the summer on some tampering, been like, listen, we want to bring you in on a minimum, like you down to hang around, like get used to the city. And then when we pull off this trade or whatever we're going to do, we'll bring you in. Because I don't think he like is from New York, but he was in New York City all summer with his dog getting spotted all around on runs, at pickup runs. And then all of a sudden he's like, he gets signed to the Knicks and he's posting sitting in Central Park with his dog. Like he's just at home already. So I think they knew they were going to bring him in. I would say maybe he starts out the season playing 12 minutes a game. And then by the time, by the time the Knicks are leaning forward in their seats with the controller, really trying at the end of the year, he'll be phased out like Burks style. That they wanted Burks back. I think Shamet's just the new Burks.
Yeah, I think the activism is situational. I think he's gonna definitely be situational. So we'll see. Next, this has been a topic of conversation. Who should start early on, Hart or McBride? I'll say this. I've heard arguments both ways. I think the Knicks are in a rare position where either or would be a good choice. I lean more towards McBride because I still wonder, what do you think is the position that is of most importance to first come off the bench for this squad? If Hart starts, they don't really have wing depth anymore. that was the cost of business with Devo, right? We traded Big Ragu, and now we have dry pasta on the bench. So now we got to find some more seasoning to put on the pasta so that we can digest it, right? And it tastes good when we eat it. So if you start Hart out, then you could give one of the wings some rest, then bring McBride in for either Brunson or whoever, and then run the second unit as you're going to run it. With Hart, it's almost, I feel like Hart is low-key like a playoff rotation. Like Hart is like who you would start in a playoff rotation. But I kind of lean toward McBride just to have Hart as the sixth man to be the first one off the bench, and we're not overtaxing him or in a position to do that. What do you think?
So I think it comes down to what combinations Tibbs wants out there the most, right? Because if he's willing to stagger OG and Mikal, right? If he's going to play to the strength of we can have one of them on the court for 48 minutes, then start Hart with the two of them, and then a couple, earlier than usual, sit either OG or Mikal, and then they'll play a bunch the rest of the game. But that's how you can get Hart minutes. That's how you can stagger the lineup and everything. If you think that OG and Mikal exponentially add to each other's games to the point where when one's on the floor, the other is really benefiting from being out there with them and vice versa, then sure, like start McBride. And then you can, it's a little easier to swap both out or however you want to do it. I just don't, because of the bench being the way it is, I don't think one of Anunoby or Mikal should be off the floor at any time. Like Brunson, Shamit, Hart, Precious, and Cat. Like, does that, you can't really, right? Yeah. So have one of Mikal or OG out there at all times. So I would say focus more on staggering them than making sure they play together. So maybe you could start with Hart and then sit one of them quick, or you could start McBride and then start rotating Hart in for one of them or whatever. I honestly, I would start Hart because I think at the end of games, in the playoffs, the lineup is going to be Brunson, Mikal, Hart, Anunoby, Towns. And the Knicks don't have the benefit that the Celtics did playing together all last year, or that the Nuggets have, or whatever, right? So like, if you want to get these guys as many reps as possible, let them start out games feeling the defenses out. Let them get a lot of reps feeling out defenses and how to score. Yeah. So I'd say start Hart and then be judicious about staggering Mikal and OG and using Hart where you need to. It's pretty awesome to have these quote unquote problems, right? Like, oh, how do you get all three of these guys minutes? Like, this is sick.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Thank you for that, man. Tekla, Rory, William, Frankson, you asked this question. I'm like, real quick, how do you feel about Pat Ewing's return? Go to about 20-25 minutes in the opener. We covered that in the news roundup. Just wanted to address that so that you knew. Thank you. Brian, what's up? If this trade goes bad for the Knicks, what does that look like?
Yeah, you wanted to talk about what if alternate realities?
Right. Well, I think that if this trade goes bad, what it looks like is Cat has to have a catastrophic season. And not even just like an injury. He just has to be the way this trade goes bad is if he turns out to be like Bargnani 2.0, that to me is the worst case scenario, but he's too good for that. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it does look like he's not fitting with the offense. They can't run drop or whatever on defense, or the scheme that they implement for him doesn't work. He's not additive to the team. It's not as synergistic offensively as we thought it was going to be. He doesn't at least give you baseline what Randall gave. I think that's what it would look like. And ultimately it would contribute to the Knicks probably being like a play-in team. That to me, if that happens, that's and they're never able to achieve what they at least even come close to achieve what they think they're gonna achieve. And I still think that Towns' contract is still movable in the future if you try to make another shot at a player of his caliber or better. So I don't think they're as stuck, but that's what it would look like for me. What about you, Kris?
I think if the trade goes bad for the Knicks, it realistically would be in a way where the Chicago Bulls did not set a blueprint by having Vucevic's rim protection seemingly be enough because Lonzo and Caruso were out there hounding on the perimeter. Like, if the Knicks find out via Mikal being a stud on the perimeter and OG being a stud at switching onto bigs, weak side rim protection, and on big wings, and that's not enough to make up for Cat at the 5, then you still don't have a 5. And if Cat doesn't work at the 5, if Thibodeau can't make it work with the personnel and with the scheme, you're in a situation where now you feel like you have to make a move of some sort. You never want to feel like you have to make a move. The Knicks kind of acknowledged that the Cat trade was in part due to their need at center. But, like, do we really believe that? Or do we think they wanted him for years, regardless of whether Mitch got hurt or not? Right. I've been hearing for years that the Rose regime is ready to move on from Robinson, and he always hangs around another year. He always survives, right? It's like Frank Ntilikina. Like, everyone's like, he is gone, and then he'd survive another year. Obviously, I love Frank. Mitch is much better than Frank ever has been. Frank never was the key to winning a playoff series, right? Like, that's whatever. That wasn't supposed to be the comparison. The comparison was more how they survived the rumors. If they feel like they have to make a move, we have to trade Robinson right now for a worse center that can play today. Like, if the pieces don't fit the way they should, which I think they'll fit seamlessly, damn near, then it might force the Knicks into doing something else, and then they'll be reeling, right? Then they're on their toes. They're trying to figure out where they can step, where they can't, and things go poorly especially because of how last January went. Everyone will feel like, the Knicks gave up on this team to make a tough decision and try and push for it, and it really didn't pay off, and they would have been better off sticking with what they had. Right. Then again, I have to be honest, I just don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. Like, I thought with the OG trade that they gave up a lot. I never once thought they'd be worse long term because of it. I was like, they're going to be better long term. If Brunson and Randall are your guys, then OG is the guy to add to that core. If JB is your guy, could you dream up better fits to his specific game than Mikal and OG? And then what OG's good at allows you to have Cat fits with Brunson. Again, it's all interwoven. One starter's strength covers another starter's weakness. And that starter, their strength covers a third starter's weak. Like, it all meshes. The best post player is the point guard. The best 3-point shooter is the center. The best rim protector is the power forward. The power forward is really a small forward. He's going to play power forward because playing small forward will be the 2, 3, 4 that is going to be playing the 3. Because instead of at the 3, we'll have Mikal at the 2 to cover for JB at the 1. Like, it all fits. So I don't see. Yeah. But that's what it would look like, I think.
Definitely. All right. I'm going to get to a couple. I saw a couple roll in before we get out of here. Hold on. Let me look. Let me just make sure we got everybody at least a couple of times. Excuse me. Let's see. Where did I see that DDP? All right. All good. Real quick. Thank you, Brian. Aldi, do you guys think that Cat will be better up at the level, or will Tibbs go heavy drop? I think Tibbs. So I think he's gonna run his defense, and if it doesn't work, then they're gonna adjust. I have nothing else to say other than we gotta wait until training camp and see how I think they're gonna test everything, but they've been able to find defenses that worked for the Knicks, and I think this is gonna be another part of Cat's learning curve. Is he going to be able to finally learn how to play in the drop? We'll see.
Again, he showed in the playoffs, like, he can lock in and play defense. That's a big difference. He's not good defensively. He's not someone who you're like, this is a standout good defender. There is a world of difference between not a defender and a passable one, because one of them can get you on the court.
Right. Exactly. All right, Aldi, thank you. And then finally, Manny Campos. If we stay put, which of the two-way guys gets a regular contract? Huck for big depth, KMJ for wing depth, or Toppin to do a solid for him. Damn, he couldn't have gotten a bona fide.
I think Jacob's better than that.
Right. He would be the leader to me in the clubhouse to get a full contract because he's been with the team. He has the continuity.
Yeah. And also like glue guy, whatever, athletic, plays in between, plays the margins. There's someone on like one of those Knicks message boards who's obsessed with Jacob Town. I don't know what account it is. I wish I could shout out their
Is it
insane
Reddit?
dedication.
New York Knicks on Reddit?
No, it's like a message board, and someone's on there like every day campaigning for Jacob Toppin to be the 5th starter. And
Jacob, is that your username? Are you?
I wish I could know
the founder of the Jacob Toppin Hive.
Yeah, no, that's funny. It'd probably be Toppin, right? If he gets and then if they give Najee a 2-way deal because they gave someone on the 2-way a regular deal,
right?
I would say it'd probably be Toppin.
Can you get a 2-way deal if you play overseas?
No,
because I think he's like drafting stash for them right now, so he's not even really a consideration. I think he's in Barcelona or something. He don't have to play that out.
They might bring him over. There's always
sidebar. Shout out to the Knicks front office for finessing a move with Dwayne Washington Jr. and his EuroLeague club Partizan to allow them to buy him out so that he could get traded to Charlotte in that deal, get waived so that he could re-sign with Partizan so that they could play as part of their EuroLeague, the big games in their EuroLeague season. I thought he was a free agent and he left. I didn't realize the Knicks still had his rights and he went to go play overseas and I guess got permission to play overseas. That was crazy to me.
Partizan is where, funnily enough, that's where Frank Ntilikina is too. It's become like the ex-Nick
expat Knicks squad.
Yeah.
Man,
they have someone else too that's interesting that is like known to us. I forget exactly who it is. They have Isaac Bonga. That's who else they have. And
wow.
Sterling Brown. They have like a funny collection of ex-NBA guys.
Right.
But yeah, Aller's hilarious. I think was it Eric Pincus who said like the $1 thing wasn't as big of a loophole as it was made out to be? I think it is a loophole in the sense where like that provision was put into place to get teams to stop doing the thing where they could basically fudge a team option onto contracts by having like $1 guaranteed or something, and then they could trade the deal or not. So the NBA put that in so teams couldn't keep doing that and like getting ahead on next year's free agency. So yeah, whatever.
So I got a quick thought on that. I said that it wasn't a loophole. It was more of a finesse because I don't think that they took advantage of like a weird provision in the contract. The CBA says they cannot trade a minimum deal. So they did not trade minimum deals. They traded a contract that is $1 over the minimum. And that technically by all their accounts is not a minimum deal, right? So now if they were to try to amend the CBA to address the Brock Aller axiom, right? To try to depower Brock Aller's moves, then they change the fundamental definition of what a minimum contract is. Because now if you start getting into percentages and all this other stuff, how does that affect the pay scale going forward? Right? Yeah, and I think we're all splitting hairs with that. Like for everybody, for like common people with, or I'll say like the average fan who thinks about what a loophole is, you'd be like, oh damn, they got one over on them. But it would be, I'm trying to think what would be like a better example of a loophole. If they said something to the effect of, if they got funny. Like, let's say they said you cannot, like, you have to play at least a certain amount of minutes in order to be eligible for a trade, right? Like, let's say it was like a random percentage and you can count, like, people didn't know that you could count Summer League. This is like super mushroom brain, right? They didn't know that Summer League counted toward those minutes because of some weird clause. That would be a loop because they would need to close that so that it's like, okay, the spirit of the rule, right? To me, the spirit of the rule is if they're on a minimum, you can't aggregate it. That's the spirit. So, okay, we'll just pay them more. We'll sign them to deals. And what this low-key is doing is going to get players in the Dwayne Washington Jr., DeQuan Jeffries tier paid.
Oh,
they're going to be paid, which I think is great for the players.
The Knicks have been doing it for years. The Knicks have been doing it for years where they will, for no real reason, like there was no benefit to it, would sign a guy and then cut him so he'd get like an extra 50,000 or something. I think they were doing that to attract these level of players, like the quadruple A guys, into their end of bench spots. Now they don't need to do that because Marcus Morris and TJ Warren, these guys are lining up to try and get a ring. This is where the Knicks are now as a team, is they're in ring chasing magnet status, which is awesome. Before they were there and they had to overpay Peyton and Portis and Noel and Gibson to join their team in the first place to get players who had no chance of playing on the team. They got them paid extra, than way more than they would have somewhere else. They said, basically, we will give you a 2 times the minimum wage salary just to sign your name twice on what, like, it was cool of them, but it also, now they're doing it and it gives them a competitive advantage. So it gives you hope that they'll continue to do it even as they're a good team. Like, look, they gave Dwayne summer league reps. Like, they were like, listen, you stuck here. The other teams probably wanted him and he stayed on with the Knicks as an end of bench guy, and he never got in the games much. He only really got in the games when Tibbs was trying to like prove a point and be like, RJ, you can't defend to save your life. We're putting this guy in. And they rewarded him. So they gave him the summer league reps. He just had I think a second kid. So, it's important for him to, have a sustained salary he can count on. So he went and signed overseas. They're like, yeah, we can get you paid a little extra. Help us out.
Exactly. Ask Shake Milton if he care about the salary negotiations. You talk about getting paid just for showing up at the end of the year. Like, I like this for the players, and I like the competitive advantage because now I want to see what they do to address it and what new loopholes are going to emerge, because that's just the way these things work. All right, man, we went 90 minutes, a casual 90 plus on this. Y'all got our thoughts on the Cat trade, different perspectives, breaking news with the Knicks and Patrick Ewing. You got a lot. You got a lot in this first episode. I mean, Kris, you set the bar. Now I gotta be like one of those high jumpers in the Olympics, and now I'm gonna have to keep going. I don't know if they're trying to split the gold medal with me, so we're gonna have to keep going until there must be a winner. But Kris, thank you so much for joining us on Casual Fridays. It's not gonna be your last time. Don't make it your last time. Let the people know where they can find you. You can find me on Twitter at Kris Pursiainen. Just type in KRISPU. It'll come up. Don't give yourself a conniption trying to spell the whole thing. But I really appreciate it. I've been putting out reporting recently about the team, still at it, no longer on the beat because I'm no longer at Fordham University. I am working several part-time jobs now, trying to get my foot in the door in the industry. But Knicks Film School is still part of what I do, and I'm really excited for this upcoming year to spend it with y'all. I'm hoping to continue to put out reporting on my page and to be with y'all on playbacks, on Casual Friday, on Study Hall, wherever it is, be around talking Knicks with y'all. The best community, the best, not just Knick fan community, I think the best niche NBA community out there. If you're not in the KFS Discord, go over to the Patreon, figure out how to get in there. Come to our town halls. Like, it's a full family affair. And I think it's very fitting that this Knicks team is being put together as a full family affair, Villanova family, CAA family, all that, because that's what it is at KFS too. So it's all very fitting. We just need the other KP to come back and hang out with this guy, Carl. The Kentucky reunion, man. Come on now. You thought I was talking about KP up in Boston? No, we don't. I thought so too. I was like, yo, you're getting crazy now. No, we got to we got the shooting 5 now. We need big dog KP. We need Kenny Payne back. We need the guy that Karl-Anthony Towns walked on the campus and said, you're gonna make me the number 1 pick, and they got to work. But yeah, long-winded way of saying thank you, fans. Thank you, KFS supporters, Knick fans. Thank you to Jeff for making me part of his debut. Everyone, make sure you continue to tune in, because I don't know of a better way to spend noon on a Friday than listening to Jeff talk Knicks. And I will be making sure to do that
especially if I'm not on the show, I'll be tuned in regardless
My
because
man.
Mensa, Sean, we gotta have Kev. Like the guys will be on here, man. But this is Jeff's baby now, and I'm very excited to see where he goes with it. So thanks for letting me be part of day one. Day one, I'd say.
Right,
Good
right,
show.
right. I love it. I love it.
Man.
I love
Thank
it.
you.
Well, like Kat said, this ain't my home. This everybody's home. You know what I mean? This everybody's home. This is the place where the fans get together, shoot the you know what, and talk about this team and get the perspectives. And we're gonna continue to do it and continue to cultivate the vibe. And I'm doing with some of the best in the biz. You can find me on all social media at Jeff J Says and the Jeff J Says YouTube channel where we talk general NBA. Of course, the Knicks are an NBA storyline, one of the big NBA storylines. So definitely have some Knicks talk over there. Also, TNT Sports The Line. I'll be on there at times. You'll catch me there giving some of my best bets, along with NBA.com highlights this season. If you hear this voice or the NBA highlight, you're not going crazy. It is me. So definitely check me out everywhere. And if you like talk, one quick thing, if you do watch the show Power, I have the best Power podcast on this and any other place in the multiverse, Power After Hours. We will be reviewing the series finale of Ghost this Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Definitely tap in. It's one of the best communities. Just like I got love for the KFS community talking Knicks, and y'all are super hyper engaged. Our Power community, we really get down. These are people who know the show, know the characters. And after that finale, we're going to have a lot to discuss. So definitely tap in with us there too. That's Kris Pursiainen. I'm Jeff Johnson. And that was Casual Friday. Next Friday, noon, we brunching. Come through. We'll talk to you soon. You already know.